Thank you everyone for joining us here today. My name is Heather Terenzio. I'm a director here at JFFLabs. And today we have a really interesting topic around apprenticeships and work-based learning and what companies are doing, especially in the startup space, to grow their talent and how they're making an impact with talent maybe found in unsuspecting kinds of places. So today, our session is sponsored by the Center for Apprenticeship and Work-Based Learning here at JFF, and super excited to introduce you here to our entrepreneurs. Let's get started with Brianna. Brianna, please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brianna, and I'm the founder and CEO of CultureLancer, where we're really working to help employers strategize, plan, recruit, and hire the workforce of tomorrow. We use AI to do those things, and yeah, we're excited to be here and have this conversation.
Thanks, Brianna. Keegan?
Awesome. Heather, excited to be here. Want to say thank you to you, everyone else at the JFF team. Excited to be with our other cohort members from the JFF Youth Skills First cohort. My name is Keegan Moldenhauer. I'm the CEO and the co-founder of Internship on Demand. We're an early stage workforce technology startup helping employers evaluate and pre-skill incoming hires before they start their internship, apprenticeship, and early talent programs.
Thanks, Keegan. Dr. Dennis.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Dennis Johnson. I'm the Senior Vice President of Programs and Partnerships here at HBCU 20 by 20 in the application. It's a pleasure to be with you all today. We have a specific focus on pipelining students of color into their dream opportunities. Right now, with this upcoming basically academic year, we have a focus on apprenticeships. So our goal is to visit, I would say around 30 minority serving institutions, pipelining those students into apprenticeships, but making sure that they're pushing dual enrollment at the same time.
Thank you, Dr. Dennis. Why don't we start with you for my first question? So America has been hiring people basically the same way for centuries. Send in a resume, hopefully have some contacts at that company, do some interviews, hire them, look at their skills, look at their credentials. Why do you think we need a new way of thinking about hiring, and why do apprenticeships play a part of that?
Definitely, it's a great question. I'll mention 5 reasons. Number one is that we have an evolving job market, which means technology is moving faster than we thought it would be. Even ourselves, we have if any of you have ever seen the movie iRobot, we have one of those robots. Just with us and just watching the things that robot can do is insane. In addition to that, there's a skills gap that we are seeing today, as in we have all these amazing opportunities, especially when it comes to artificial intelligence. But who's going to code for that? Who's going to teach that machine how to learn? There's a high cost when it comes to education, and we don't see the ROI when it comes to getting certain degrees, and we see it ourselves because we work primarily with college students. We're not seeing the benefits of some of the degrees and some of the basically the money that they put into this opportunity. Next is the desire and flexibility. Like, who wants to work a 9 to 5, like in an office, or in a cubicle? Like, people want to be able to work from home or have like, I'm at home 2 days out of the week and maybe at the office 3 days out of the week. And just next is just like, we have to just upskill overall.
Thanks for that, Dennis. Keegan, you want to jump in?
Yeah. I'll add, I think I like and agree with a lot of what Dennis said. I think we think about it within Internship on Demand is the transparency and the understanding of what a career looks like is so different than my parents, our parents, 5 or 10 years ago. When you're in college or you're out of high school thinking about what those next steps are, there you can hop on TikTok or LinkedIn and everything seems like it's at one time achievable, but also like impossible to do. And what is the work-life balance? What is the 9 to 5? What is the office culture at all of these organizations is so hard to understand from a learner standpoint. Then you tack on trying to make friends and transition into adulthood. There's just a lot of noise, I think, that muddies that process from education to career. And I think we're really trying to think about really basically, how can we make that process more easy to understand, more accessible, which we think ultimately will lead to downstream successes.
Thanks, Keegan. Brianna, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I agree with both Keegan
Mm,
and Dr. Dennis said, but I also kind of just want to zoom into the idea of transparency and add awareness to that. I think for a lot of people, and not just emerging talent or young talent, but even those that are in transition or later on in their career, there's also like a knowledge gap and an awareness gap around their skills and how their skills can cross over, how they
mm,
can transition and transfer into other areas. And that also leaves a lot of room for how employers can be looking at how can they reskill, upskill, and develop their current talent and employees, as well as their future talent and employees. So there's just a lot of great area that exists today that you have to be innovative in your approach when it comes to your workforce.
hmm. Well, that's a good point, Brianna. Let's dig into that a little bit. Like when you're talking about that gray area. So, I mean, apprenticeships, we've been talking about it for a while, especially here at JFF. It seems like an amazing idea. Like, why isn't everybody doing it? Like, what are the challenges around apprenticeships? And what are you seeing just as like smaller companies trying to get these kinds of things more mainstream than they are today? And Keegan, do you want to start this time?
Yeah, I can start on that one.
Mhm.
I think the challenges in terms of how employers start and continue to grow early talent programs. I mean, there's a lot, like the list goes on. I think ultimately we've been relying on a lot of data recently that informed our thesis from the Business Higher Education Forum. There is a shortage of 5.7 million quality internship and apprenticeship opportunities for folks in college. That means there needs to be more opportunities offered by employers or getting employers to launch these kind of early talent programs just to start to chip away at that gap. And I think one of those big ones is always going to be budget. And I think just thinking about how we can be strategic in, hey, if we're trying to hire people, how does that impact our bottom line? If you're a company that's constantly hiring and losing people and rehiring, that's a massive impact to the bottom line. And I think that budget can be hard to swallow when you're thinking about launching a new program. I also think the lack of understanding of what is that landscape. I talked about it on the student side.
Mhm.
I think that's 100% on the employer side too. Okay, do I do an internship? Do I do an apprenticeship? Who's going to manage my apprenticeship? How long should that be? Is it registered? Is it not registered?
Mhm.
Like that list goes on and on. And we could sit here and talk for an hour on just that topic. But I think the how employers can launch and start these programs, and I think just making it again just understandable, getting it started, going to a company like ours, like Brianna, like
Mhm.
Dr. Dennis here, and asking for help. Getting other
Mhm.
partners on board who've done this program is a good way to start to at least tackle some of those early questions.
Love that. Thank you, Keegan. Dr. Dennis, do you want to, any comments, just challenges you see in this model?
Definitely. I think one of the main things is that it's the lack of understanding of what an apprenticeship is. I
Mm,
think that we are really, pushing for employers to basically build apprenticeship programs. And it's so much, it's like a spider web. Even when we was going through
mhm,
our process in North Carolina to become basically an apprenticeship sponsor recognized by the state, it was way deeper than I thought it was going to be. And then, not to mention, there's levels to apprenticeships. Like to an apprenticeship is totally different from an actual registered apprenticeship. It's like Apple and Android. And then
mhm,
it's like, okay, who actually recognizes that apprenticeship? But on the other end, you are asking employers who, it's all about the bottom line to put this time aside, this money, and these resources to train this specific population, and trying to convince them that they should go the registered route is going to be a challenge. I mean, I'm so thankful for the Center for Apprenticeships, here at JFF, for even educating us and putting us in the room with the right people to let us know this is why this is important. This is why this is important, but also communicating that to our 600 employer partners is becoming a challenge as well.
mm. Thanks for that, Dennis. Brianna, do you want to add anything?
Yeah,
Challenges
I
you?
mean, for me, the thing that keeps coming up is the lack of awareness.
Mm,
Awareness is a big piece, and within higher education, going off into industry, there's just so much siloed information. And then when you get into that silo, it's so much information that it's hard to kind of digest. And like Dr. Dennis said, break it apart and tease it out to figure out, okay, what is step A? And so that's one of the hugest issues. And the other thing, like Keegan brought up, is the budget. We specialize in working small to mid-size and really staying in that market. And for a lot of those companies, there is no budget, but what they don't know is that there are a lot of there was a lot of federal funding. Hopefully that still stays there, but right now there is still federal funding and programming for apprenticeships, but just figuring out how to tap into those dollars and make sure that you have the right things in place, you have the right people in place, the right programming set up. But that's why you have companies like ours where we can support you through that process so that you are able to tap into that early talent, that agile talent, that not only I'm gonna go into one other point, but to tap into that talent. The other thing also is there's still some preconceived notion about early talent. And I think that's also a lot of relearning that we are having to help people with, and understand that these young people, they need opportunities just like you needed an opportunity. And despite where we're at in our culture, in our society today, there's still a lot of really effective, highly motivated, hardworking young folks who are just waiting for that opportunity to shine.
Great point, Brianna. Go ahead.
I want to piggyback off of that because Brianna, I love what you mentioned there. And it, got some juices flowing for me, I think. And this is the model by nature, right? College or the education, even high school, is yes, piggybacks and kind of steps towards finding out what you want to do. But I'm a recovering mechanical engineer. I've built toilets, I've built ovens, and now I run a HR tech software company, right? So the education model is designed to get you prepared for 1,000 different companies in marketing, in finance, in engineering, and software. But every specific company, team, they all have unique cultures, way they do things, different technologies. And I think that's where, companies like ours, startups like ours, can exist in that space to help students find out, hey, of all the thousands of companies that I'm prepared for, what is the right one for me? What is going to fit the kind of work that I want to do, the community I want to be in, that company culture that's really right for me? And I think for us at Internship on Demand, it's about starting early. So we're talking about pre-apprenticeship programs, pre-internship programs when students are starting the first or second years in college, and we can help them, one, make decisions that hopefully save them thousands of dollars by not graduating with a major that's not right for them. But then on the employer side, we can deliver that ROI of getting the right candidates into those programs who are going to stick around or are going to be really productive.
Thanks, Keegan. We only have a few minutes left, but I'd love to just close on hearing your thoughts on what's the one thing you would want to get out to employers just as they're thinking about next year or thinking about their budgets and their talent strategy, what 2025 looked like to them? What's the one thing you'd want to tell them as a company that is basically doing this all day, all night, 24/7, thinking about talent and apprenticeships and different kinds of pipelines into their companies? Just kind of some final thoughts. Dennis, do you want to get started?
Partner with us. I think, and I'm not just saying this because with HBC 20 by 20 in the application, but we've been doing this for a while. And what I mean by that is that we understand what this process looks like. And it's not only understanding apprenticeships, but it's also understanding recruitment in today's market. And we've been able to perfect that. This upcoming spring, we're literally going to over 30 states. We're going to be visiting minority serving institutions in all those states. We're going to be specifically talking to college students about, hey, apprenticeships within their local area, which is very, very unique because usually universities don't want that type of competition on campus, but they're open to it because they understand what it can mean for their students and also what it can mean down the line for them. I think what I would tell companies is that not only to work with us, trust the process and learn about the process to become a bit more innovative. I think that that degree requirement is definitely going to have to change for a lot of companies. And also, I think the $1 billion issue, not just with employers, with federal agencies as well, is going to be marketing. I think a lot of this is going to come down to marketing. For us to really make this push, it's going to be about, can you convince and portray, this type of lifestyle, this income, to students who put so much into the traditional education, program and stuff like that that's out there.
Thank you, Dennis. Keegan, do you want to jump in?
Yeah. I guess if you don't work with Dennis, you can give me a call. I think for us, we think about the next couple of years, economic uncertainty, changing regulations, grant capital, budgets. I think the biggest thing that we try to work with employers on is your early talent strategy doesn't have to be completely binary. It's not we're running an awesome apprenticeship program, an internship program, and we're hiring 10 or 20, entry-level grads a year, or hey, budgets are tight, let's turn everything off and reassess in a year or two. There's a lot of space in between in kind of that continuum where as an employer, you can still be building brand, doing that marketing, getting in front of students, offering shorter term opportunities, connecting on campus, doing virtual info sessions, right? As you shift budgets, you can shift what the how of that talent strategy looks like. Yes, the ultimate goal is we still want to have candidates who fit our brand, who fit our organization, and we can have them jump into these full-time roles ready to kick it. But when budgets become tight or we lose people on our talent teams, there's a ton of flexibility. And that's where startups like ours can be great. And how do we still connect with students? How do we still build that pipeline? So when, hey, the budget looks a little bit better, we know what next year looks like, we can turn on that full apprenticeship program or we can get it up off the ground. I think that's what I would close with.
Thank you, Keegan. Brianna, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I will go back to my theme of today, awareness, right? I feel like, I know that there's a huge bridge that needs to be built, both on the talent level as well as the employer level, especially those that we specialize with. Awareness is the name of the game at this point. I also would leave with your talent strategy is your bottom line, because human capital, the key word is capital at the end of the day. So if you don't have the right people in place, and good people who will be with you for the long haul, and the only way to do that is to go beyond the traditional and standard approaches when it comes to seeking talent. That is what is going to be the difference between companies that are able to weather the test of time versus those that will come and go. So I will be encouraging to employers by saying a budget. Hopefully talent is a part of your budget, because it is such a critical part of your company and its scalability and its growth trajectory. But it's just a matter of shifting what it looks like. Instead of spending so much money on posting that job posting, actually go out there and partner with companies like Dr. Dennis, who have boots on the ground, where you guys might not have the people in place to dedicate to push them across all 30 states, but you have companies like HBCU 2020 or companies like Keegan, where they specially design programs for you to create a digital recruitment strategy, or companies like CultureLancer, where we specialize in project-based learning and project-based work, under the umbrella of apprenticeships, where you can try out talent on an ongoing basis while you are growing out your company and developing the additional budget to hire staff full time. There are a lot of flexible opportunities out there, and all it takes is you working with one of us. And of course, Jobs in the Future and their apprenticeship program and all of their resources to to just continue to help expand your workforce, where if one of the three of us don't necessarily fit your narrative, there are companies out there who are actively working to solve this problem, because it has been an ongoing issue. There's no reason that it needs to continue, because there are so many people in the space that are curious and motivated to make sure that our workforce helps to fully develop our economy so that there's not an issue in the future.
Thank you so much, Brianna. Thank you, Dr. Dennis. Thank you, Keegan. I think what I'm hearing from all of you is that you can't build a great company unless you have great employees. And you know, you need a company like Brianna's, Dr. Dennis, or Keegan to help you build that company. And 2025 is the time to start thinking about your talent strategy in a much more creative way. And I would encourage all of you to reach out to one of our 3 brilliant entrepreneurs here today and, you know, see how they can help you. So thank you so much for joining us here today. They will look forward to hearing from you. Thank you from JFF, and have a great rest of your week. Thank you.